country, where another form of racing is an institution.
And down the stretch they come!
But today, a different kind of horsepower is needed down the stretch. With 2 races to go, Buddy Lazier leads the pack in the running for the IRL Series Championship. The 1996 Indy 500 champ looks for his first series title. He used a victory at Phoenix and 4 other top 10 finishes this year to stay ahead of his competitors. Consistency has been a hallmark for Lazier this season. Now, with 2 races left, Buddy has a pack of 5 hungry drivers ready to run him down. Welcome to Kentucky Speedway. We are half a lap from the green flag. 27 cars and drivers are set to go 300 miles, 200 laps on this brand new 1.5-mile facility. It's Scott Goodyear, Eliseo Salazar in the front row, then Greg Ray, Sarah Fisher, Jeff Ford, and Jared Schrader. As the field is aligned very, very nicely. And another racing tradition is about to begin in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The green flag is out, and we are racing in the Belterra Resort 300 for the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series.
Wide racetrack, Bob. The Salazar on the outside doesn't want to give up to Goodyear.
They continue to run side by side all the way through turns 3 and 4. Now Salazar gets a slight advantage coming off corner number 4, and Eliseo Salazar will lead the first lap, and that's the first time he has ever led an opening lap of an Indy Racing Northern Lights Series event. Here's the side pod of Scott Goodyear, and he's being passed by Jared Schrader.
Well, Schrader started 6th, so he's going to the front in a hurry, Bob.
Schrader now closes in on Salazar. This is the 3rd race that Eliseo Salazar has led this year. This is a 1.5-mile racetrack with the turns banked at 14 degrees. And now Jared Schrader spins.
Schrader.
And Schrader is hard into the wall, and Salazar is also.
You okay? You okay?
And another car becomes involved, hitting the wall up in turn number 3. So it's a 3-car accident. I believe it was Al Unser Jr. that also had contact with the wall as he, yep, that's who it is. He tried to squeeze between the wall and a disabled car, Salazar, and he clipped the right side of the wall. And so 3 top contenders are taken out here. Scott Sharp, we believe, also. Indeed, Scott Sharp is also stalled in the infield grass in the backstretch. There he is. So...
And he's talking about the left front. You can see some damage on the wing.
I dodged a couple tires and some piece of the side pod of Tyson's car. Wiped out the left front and nowhere I could go.
Again, he's talking about debris from the other cars that he was able to run into. Schrader underneath. He's down in the flat now, below the white line. I'm not sure if there's fluid there or not, but he got down very low, and he might have lost some of the banking, and the back end jumped out, and then everybody else is just trying to dodge the mess.
It appeared as if Salazar was going to be able to continue on, but that was not the case, as he also slid up into the wall. And there is Al Unser Jr. He tried to get between the wall and Schrader and simply did not make it. Here's on board with Scott Goodyear, who was watching from 3rd spot.
You can see Schrader up there. He's the car underneath. He went down on the white line, and the track flattens out a little bit there, Bob. He just lost the car and went right up into Salazar. Now, this is a little bit early to be trying to make this move. Again, and it looks like Salazar's going to get away with it, but they just touched enough that it knocked Salazar loose. He tried to catch it, but he just couldn't hang on, and Salazar was a late resulting wall impact from Schrader's missed dive.
Now let's go on board with Scott Sharp. You can see that he did have contact with Schrader. Here it is.
Well, the accident's quite a ways in front of him. You can see that, but there's debris, and you can see the tire come across, and you can hear it hit Sharp's car.
And it appeared as if that's what also resulted in Al Unser Jr.'s problem. He was hit by some flying debris that had to take his car up into the outside wall.
Well, obviously, a couple of the guys that are in this points chase are taken out early, and again, Jarrett might have been a little aggressive on the start with a new racetrack, not knowing what might happen, caused a lot of people stress.
And, Tom, that's a huge disappointment for this team because Jarrett Schrader and the TriStar Motorsports team felt they had the best race car at this track that they've had all season long. And I spoke with Larry Curry, one of the team owners, prior to the race, and he said, we are hooked up. We have got a great race car. Maybe that led to some of the aggressiveness in the early going. But, Tom, you make a great point. Eliseo Salazar, who was 4th in the points, Scott Sharp, who was 5th in the points, and Al Unser Jr., who was 6th in the points. All 3 are out of the race, and that obviously damages and probably puts an end to their championship hopes, leaving Lazier, Cheever, and Goodyear 1, 2, 3 still alive. Well, Al Unser Jr. has walked to the ambulance, but he was walking very gingerly, favoring one of his legs, so he will be checked over. Now, here is the onboard from Jeff Ward.
Well, again, Schrader down low and gets together with Salazar, and now they're just trying to dodge debris in race cars. That's one of the problems when you don't qualify well. When you qualify back in the pack, you're exposed to a lot of trouble, Bob.
Crash here on the second lap of the race has eliminated 4 contenders. More from Kentucky Speedway in a moment. ESPN's coverage of the Kentucky Indy 300 is being brought to you by NorthernLight.com. Just what you've been searching for. By Delphi Automotive Systems, driving tomorrow's technology. By Mountain Dew, left lane, folks, left lane. And by Pennzoil with Pure Base, protection so strong you can see the difference. Race here off to a auspicious start. Here's what happened when Jarrett Schrader tried to take the lead from Eliseo Salazar.
Well, again, he got down underneath the white line and probably lost some of the banking. The track flattens out there. The back end came around. He just kicked the left rear of Salazar's car. And then watch as Little Al come in here really hot. I'm not sure if his spotters didn't get to him quick enough, but Al's, there he is. There's Little Al, and he comes in there pretty fast. Again, these guys are going 215 miles an hour down in that area, so things happen in a hurry, and this doesn't have the banking like a lot of these mile-and-a-half tracks do to cushion those blows, Bob.
Down to Jack Arute on pit road.
Well, this changes things for Scott Goodyear. Gary Pettigo is one of the owners of Pennzoil Racing. Gary, you came here, you said uncharacteristically we're going to go for the pole and the 3 points. You accomplished that. Goodyear gets his first career pole ever. Now, all of a sudden, some of your contenders have dropped out. Does that change the way you approach the rest of this race?
No, I don't think so. Scott's going to try to keep the car in front, and we're going to go for it, and we're going to try to come away with a win.
30 points is the difference, Bob, between this guy's car and Buddy Lazier going into this race. Now that we've seen some of the front runners drop out, it's going to be interesting to see, Vince Welch, if they'll be able to narrow the gap.
Well, A.J. Foyt's driver, Eliseo Salazar, was one who was certainly in the mix for the championship, not any longer.
Well, it's over with for the championship. I'm just glad he's not hurt. And, you know, it's racing. You know, they both running very hard. And, you know, I can't really tell what happened. It looked like Jerry got in awful hard. And it was kind of tight. And it looked like when he started losing it, then that's what hit the back of Salazar's car. But, you know, what can you say? Both boys are running very hard. And it's just one of them things.
You've been in the championship mix so many times. This is about as nightmarish as it could be when you're right there in the hunt.
Well, that's quite true. You know, we wouldn't have had some bad luck, and we cost him a couple races this year, you know, in the pits. And so he should have been way leading the point standing. But, you know, 4 years of racing, won it twice in 2 seconds. What can we say? We still got a long day. Maybe Jeff can come back and win the race and make things a lot better for us.
One car is out, another still alive for A.J. Foyt. All right, the cars involved now are Salazar, Schrader, Al Unser Jr., and Scott Sharp, and also Ayrton Dare, who right now, as you see, pulls out of the pits, has been on pit road for quite some time. He was also a victim of flying debris. They're the top 5. We have completed 8 of the 200 laps under caution here because of an accident on lap number 2. ESPN welcomes you back to the Kentucky Indy 300 for the Indy Racing Northern Light Series, and we are under caution because of a 4-car accident on the second lap. Watch tonight as the Cleveland Indians battle against the Anaheim Angels as they compete for the American League wild card. Coverage begins with baseball tonight, presented by Pep Boys at 7:30, 4:30 Pacific, followed by Sunday Night Baseball at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
Well, Bob, it was interesting to listen to A.J. comment about the accident. That was a little bit unlike A.J. I mean, here your driver's leading the race and gets hit from behind, taken out of a points chase and a possible victory. And I can remember A.J. when he was driving those things. He probably wouldn't. I'm not sure if he's trying to stay on the island or what he's trying to do, Bob.
And it's a bad break for Salazar, because we all remember what happened earlier this year when he was a victim of another crash that involved Sarah Fisher. And now here in the thick of the points battle, he is involved in an accident in the next to the last race that has, for the most part, eliminated his chances of winning the championship. Involved in this crash, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 15th in the point standings. And here are the point standings. 23 separate Eddie Cheever from Buddy Lazier. Scott Goodyear, Salazar there in 4th. Sharp was involved in the 5th position. So was Al Unser Jr. Mark Dismore has made a pit stop. Robbie Buell, Donnie Beechler, and Robbie McGee remain in the race. Now, here is how you gain points today. The winner gets 50, second place 40, and so on down. But another very important 2 points will be going to the driver who leads the most laps here this afternoon.
Well, we talked about the premium and qualifying up front, especially in these races to try to avoid trouble. Foyt's guy, Salazar, qualified in the front row. He did his job. He started up front, but still was involved in the mess. And then the guys in the back of the pack trying to dodge the bullets and the flying debris. Sometimes you get away with it, sometimes you don't.
Well, another car on pit road actually has stalled in the pits. Davey Hamilton, he is sitting in his pit stall right now as they continue to do work on that car.
Well, that car actually got hit by some of the debris, and so I'm not sure if that debris has caused some damage from that accident.
Well, we had hoped to bring you the words of Pete Rose as he gave the command to start the engines. Unfortunately, we were unable to do that. But Pete, very much in attendance, a living legend here in the Cincinnati area, the all-time hits leader in Major League Baseball. We'll be right back. Back in the garage area here at the Kentucky Speedway, Scott Sharp looking over the damage to his car as a result of this accident on the second lap of the race. We've completed 13 now, and the cleanup is going on. But, boy, when you have this many cars involved in an incident so early, there was a lot of debris on the racetrack, a lot of fluid placed down on the racetrack, and therefore the cleanup is taking quite a while. Very pleased with the turnout here at the new Kentucky Speedway. Crowd estimated a little in excess of 50,000. It seats 66,000. And, of course, this league will be back here next year in the year 2001 for a return visit. This is a beautiful facility. They have spent millions of dollars building it. They did a huge job of getting the traffic situation corrected after the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series ran here in June, and they had people stalled on the interstate miles and miles from the exit to the racetrack. Today, however, all the traffic was in early, and things look very, very good. Jack?
Well, we have Jared Schrader just checked out of the hospital. You're okay, Jared. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, I'm okay. You know, we had a really great car, really fast. It was going straight towards the front early in the race, and, you know, I figured that Salazar was going to stay up in the high lane. You know, the track's very easy to go too wide here, and I went down low, and he came down on me and stuck me in the apron and pit me around.
But you're all right, but now you've got to wait for Texas, but you're still running awfully good for that Rookie of the Year.
Well, thank you. You know, it's really disappointing that we couldn't have a better showing here for Kroger, but, you know, Texas is a long way away, and, you know, hopefully we'll have a good showing for Kroger there.
Vince?
Ron Himmelgarn, team owner for Buddy Lazier, the team that leads the championship chase. 3 of your challengers just went out early. Your thoughts?
Well, we got 3 down, 4 to go, so it's a long, long race. We're just going to run all day and hopefully going to have that podium finish. And if we do, we're going to get a lot of points, and we can come out of here leading the championship again. So.
because you do have a small cushion, 23 points over the second-place driver, Eddie Cheever, do you drive it a little more conservatively today, or do you still try to put it to the floor and make it to victory lane?
Well, we're just going to go run a race just like we do any other weekend. I don't think we should be totally so concerned under the championship that we forget what we're here for, and that's to win a race. So we're going to be competitive. We got blocked in there on the start of the race, so we got a few cars to pick up here on the restart. But I think just basically concentrate on the race, try to win the race, don't do anything crazy, and bring it home and leave here still leading the championship.
Ron Himmelgarn and his driver, Buddy Lazier, currently 8th on the track and leading the points championship, Jackaroot.
Vince, let's update you on the condition of Al Unser Jr. They've decided they want to check him over a little bit more than they normally would, because as you could see from the video, he was limping, and they feel now that Al Unser Jr. needs to be checked over for a problem with his leg. They're going to give him some x-rays. He will be out for in there in the medical center for quite some time.
Okay, we hope Al Unser Jr. is going to be okay. Still cleaning up this crash, Scott Goodyear, Greg Ray, Jeff Ward, Jacques Lazier, and Jimmy Kite are the top 5. Bob Jenkins, Tom Sneva, Jack Arute, and Vince Welch back at Kentucky Speedway. We are ready to go racing once again, and let's hope we can get some racing in here. Here's the green flag now as Scott Goodyear charges off corner number 4 and takes the flag. Greg Ray running second. Jeff Ward is right behind him.
Well, then Sarah Fisher right behind those 3 right there, Bob. But Greg Ray didn't get a very good jump at the beginning. Goodyear got away from those guys quite badly.
On board with Jeff Ward, he looks ahead to Greg Ray, who's the most recent winner in the series. They're second, third, fourth, and fifth. They run fairly closely together, but right now Scott Goodyear has built up a fairly healthy lead. Officially, it is 1.22 seconds, and we're on board with Buddy Lazier, and he is making up some ground.
Clear.
Well, you know, Buddy, he doesn't waste much time. He hasn't qualified all that well many times, many of the races this year, Bob, but he's pretty spectacular to watch early. Again, being in the points race, though, you think he might take a little bit more time and be a little more cautious trying to work his way to the front.
Wow, he has already moved up to the 5th position. Jack Arute down with Eliseo Salazar.
And not a very happy Eliseo Salazar, so close in the championship hunt.
Yeah, that's what a shame, because we had a good shot. We got 2 points yesterday from starting on the front row. And I was leading. I left the lane on the inside, but he hit me on NASCAR style. You know, I guess he went into the apron and spun. I hit me in the rear, so nothing I could do.
No warning from your spotter?
No, he didn't say anything, and I saw Trey coming, and there was still another lane, you know, from what I feel. So he could have used that, but I guess he went into touched the white line, you know, and the transition got him, you know, and that's how he spun.
Texas is next for the Rio team.
Eliseo Salazar out of the race as a result of a crash. Well, that car there on the left of your screen is Jimmy Kite, who has moved up to 3rd position. They have a new sponsor on that car this week, Aramis Fragrancies. Nice to see a sponsor like that joining the Indy Racing Northern Light Series, and Jimmy is making his way to the front. He's closing in on Greg Ray, who's running in 2nd spot, and Greg Ray, by the way, as you can see there, has closed the interval between himself and the leader, Scott Goodyear.
Well, that's good for Jimmy. Now he's fast and smells good, Bob. That's great.
And now Kite moves to the inside of Greg Ray in turn number 3. They are wheel to wheel through here, and they're still side by side.
And you can see Jimmy down low, how he got into the rough part of the racetrack. The car definitely bounced around quite a bit, but Jimmy was able to hang down there, and now he's going to get this pass done.
Indeed. Kite takes 2nd place, Jack.
Well, that'll be exciting. Meanwhile, what a work by Tom Kelly and the Delphi crew. They have gone to work and repaired the problems with Scott Sharp. You can see Scott right here getting resuited up. They are going to send him back out. That's how important points are, fellas, when you only run 9 races.
Well, that's right. You know, everybody else who was involved in that crash, everybody run the same number of laps. If Scott Sharp can get in and just make 1 lap, he will gain position and pick up 3 valuable points in the championship.
Well, and that will be a big advantage, but it's going to be hard for him to have any kind of finish, because this sport is so competitive. You get down a lap and you're going to finish towards the back of this basket.
Well, Sam Hornish is having a good early run here. He's on the outside of Jacques Lazier, who's in that number 43 car this week, and Sam Hornish goes to the 6th position.
Well, that's that PDM team. They weren't even at Atlanta because of the budget problems, but and they actually skipped the morning practice, again, trying to save the engine. They came with one motor and not a big budget, but a lot of big hearts, Bob.
Well, they didn't even run the final practice period this morning. They were the only team that chose not to participate simply because they didn't want to take a chance on harming the engine or having something go wrong. But right now, when it's time, Sam Hornish is in fine shape. He's sneaking up on Buddy Lazier.
Well, this is amazing. I mean, this is coming to the front. What a tremendous effort by a team that just works their tails off to try to get the job done and tries to get to every race, but it's tough when you don't have a budget to work with.
Boy, he made a nice pass on the outside of Buddy Lazier, so put him up in the 5th position now. And there's a real question mark as to where Sam Hornish is going to be next year. There he's passing Jeff Ward now.
Well, he's got 2nd and 3rd right there, and he's going to dust them off shortly, Bob. This is some pretty good stuff.
On board with Jeff Ward, he looks up ahead to Hornish and to Greg Ray. Hornish is on the outside of Ray as they hit the end of the backstretch. He passes him with ease, as a matter of fact. So does Jeff Ward, and Greg Ray is off the pace and heading. No, I thought he was going to head for the pits, but he is definitely not up to full song. Greg Ray, the defending series champion.
Well, again, a lot of people thought this was going to become a handling track. They qualified flat out, Bob, and could run by themselves a lot of laps with the throttle all the way on the floor, but handling is going to be very important here.
Up front, there is Goodyear, and now the battle is for 2nd position as Hornish comes up on Kite. We want to get the interview with Jack Arute.
You're looking at the throttle foot for Al Unser Jr. and a very ginger Al Unser right now.
Yeah, I tell you, it was a pretty big hit. Jarrett spun, and then he went up, he hit the wall, and then a rear tire came off his car and just came out of the middle of the sky on me. I saw it coming down, and I tried to avoid it, and it took my right front off, and then it was just fence city. So.
What about your condition, Al? What have the doctors told you about your leg?
Well, I got just a real bad Charlie horse right now. When I went up and I hit the fence, it got my thigh pretty good, and so we'll just ice it. There's no broken bones or anything like that, so we'll be all right.
Good thing he's a good friend with Jim Kelly. He certainly knows how to ice down a bruised thigh.
Well, all kinds of things happening on the racetrack. The leader is Sam Hornish. Kite's running 2nd. Scott Goodyear's all the way back to 3rd. And we're on board now with Jeff Ward. That's Buddy Lazier up ahead of Ward behind Goodyear, or is he? Lazier to the inside in turn 3 and passes Goodyear. Obviously, something is wrong with Scott's car.
Well, what's happening, Bob, is, again, they've never run this racetrack before, and this is the first time in race situation. A lot of the cars, after they get laps on these tires, are starting to back up. The handling's going away, the balance changes, and some guys are going forward, some guys are going back.
We understand that he's running a higher tire pressure than recommended by Firestone, and perhaps that is his problem. There's Jeff Ward right behind him. Let's give credit to Sam Hornish, who is running his 1st Indy Racing Northern Light Series event. Meanwhile, there's a question mark regarding Greg Ray also. Vince, what's the story there?
Well, the good news is it's nothing serious, but Ray did miss a shift during that battle in traffic. That's what you saw him get way up out of it, and you thought maybe he had a serious problem, but he just missed a shift. It did cause him to drop back to 9th place.
Are they shifting during a normal lap here, Tom?
Well, not in a normal lap, but, you know, it's very important to be right at 10.7. That's the rev limiter set. That's the maximum RPM. And when you get into traffic, sometimes you'll lose that momentum. And a lot of the cars they all have at least 2 high gears. Some of them are running 3 high gears, again, because it's the first time they've been to this track. They weren't sure what the race pace was going to be. So a lot of the teams elected to go with 3 high gears, giving them more of a range and more selection to try to keep it at that 10.7 mark.
Well, there is Buddy Lazier, who is trying to get 2nd position from Jimmy Kite, but Kite is not very willing to give it up. There he does. Buddy Lazier now moves to second position, about 1.1 seconds behind the leader of the race, Sam Hornish. Goodyear is fourth, followed by Ward, then Jacques Lazier, Tice Carlson, Sarah Fisher, Eddie Cheever Jr., and Donnie Beachler. They're the top 10. Sam Hornish, who had never led until he took the lead a few laps ago, came from 20th to first position in 18 green flag laps. But now Buddy Lazier will try to catch up with Sam.
Well, obviously Sam's car is good, and this is just really amazing. This team didn't come and do any testing. A lot of these teams, you know, have done days and days of testing here because they had 6 weeks in between Atlanta and this racetrack. Obviously, Hornish and that team didn't have the budget to come and test, but they're showing the boys the way around right now.
And Buddy Lazier tastes a championship, and he is closing in on Sam Hornish at this point. The lead is now down to officially a half second, but it's just a matter of car lengths, really, and Buddy is really closing up on Hornish. Lazier, of course, the winner at Phoenix in an incredible display of last to first drive, and now here he is trying to win his second race of the year, but he cannot catch up just yet to Sam Hornish.
Fellas, we have documented why PDM Racing is known as PDM. They say, Chuck Buckner and Paul Dietlovich, it stands for Poor Dumb Mechanics. This is a eclectic group of people that are former, well, mechanics in other teams. But one of the masterminds behind everything is A.J. Watson. He is a legendary IndyCar builder, designer, and he still calls some of the shots here in the PDM Sam Hornish pit.
Well, we know one thing. A.J. always shows up at the PDM garage about happy hour. That's 5:30 Indianapolis time, I think.
Well, Buddy Lazier has taken the lead from Hornish, and he becomes our fourth leader so far today. Let's get out of the bench with a report on Eddie Cheever Jr., who's ninth.
Cheever is indeed running ninth, and he's experiencing a very loose race car. He radioed in and said they're really riding on that right rear big time, and they need to fix it at that first stop. That was at lap 35, 7 laps ago, so every lap is a battle right now for Eddie Cheever.
And there is Cheever as he crosses the line to complete lap number 42. He's almost 11 seconds behind the leader of the race. Scott Sharp is back in competition. And again, every lap that he can complete will just increase his chances of picking up more points for the championship. He was involved in that accident that came at the end of lap number 2, but he is back in competition. Now here's Scott Goodyear, who is running with Jeff Ward and Jacques Lazier, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Buddy Lazier leads Sam Hornish back at Kentucky in a moment. Back at Kentucky Speedway, that blue car right there is Jacques Lazier, Buddy's brother. So we have Lazier's really the stars of the show right now. Buddy's in first, and Jacques has moved up to 3rd place. He just passed Jimmy Kite. Now, this is the number 43 Mid-America Motorsports car that was driven earlier in the season by Doug Dodaro. Jacques Lazier is doing a fine job in that mount here today.
Bob, he got the call for Jacques Lazier did from the Dodaro people concerning that car just last week. In fact, it was such a rush job that they were still pouring the seat when the car, the Mid-America freight car, arrived here for Jacques Lazier. It's been a long time since I've seen the younger of the Lazier brothers smile ear to ear the way Jacques has since he started driving that car.
Now the number 27 car of Kite comes in for a pit stop at the 50 lap mark, and that's just about what everybody had expected as far as a pit window is concerned. And Scott Sharp's car has stopped, and Scott is bailing out, but again, because he did get out there and complete some laps, he did move up into the 24th position, so he will earn a few more laps. The caution comes out for the second time.
Well, it's real tough. When you have damage on these cars, Bob, you can take them in the garage, but when you're in a hurry, it's hard to get everything spotted that might be wrong with the car before you get back on the racetrack.
Tom, here's the report on Scott Sharp. The motor expired.
That'll do it.
Go lean on fuel, lean on fuel.
Well, they had that motor problem. Remember in Atlanta, Jack, we had a lot of motor problems. They felt they'd solved that problem. A lot of the motor problem in Atlanta was sort of a wrist pin problem. They did a coating on some of the wrist pins on the contact motors, and that coating came apart as the race developed and caused a lot of damage on these motors. They thought they had that problem solved, but if it's motor-related, maybe that wasn't the only problem they had.
Well, you know, Tom, some drivers and some teams have actually opted to use a brand-new Oldsmobile Aurora prototype motor that has a different cylinder head as well as a different ECM and fuel metering situation with it. They say that it gives them, what is it, a little bit more mid-range torque?
That's exactly right, Jack. And it's just an effort by GM and the Aurora people to try to close the gap. The Infinity came up and won a race this year and started to put some pressure on them. So they went back to work, or they didn't stand still very long, and done a nice job with that motor.
Down to Vince Welch.
On board with Buddy Lazier and Lazier's crew, clapping their hands when that yellow came out, because they, as Jack mentioned, in the pit window at that 50-lap mark, although they had a few laps to play with because of the length of yellow. But Ron Himmelgarn had just said, we're going to need to come in sometime soon, and now they get the yellow flag. Unfortunately for Jimmy Kite, who had come in prior to the yellow, timing can sometimes be everything. As you see the pit lane, all the teams getting ready to come in for their first stop.
That is going to put Jimmy one lap down, and that's unfortunate because he was running right up there at the front of the field and looking very, very good in that Aramis Fragrancies car. Now the pit road is open as the pace car has packed up the field, so the crews get ready to service their vehicle.
Well, they'll all be coming in now, and again, it's a new racetrack. The Kite team really didn't know how far they could go. They've never been to this racetrack, so mileage was a big question mark. Unfortunately for Jimmy, you know, the timing is just not good.
All right, let's watch now as Lazier, Hornish, Jacques Lazier, Ward, Goodyear, Fisher, all will be coming in for scheduled pit stops here, and the pit stops are going to come on the 54th lap of the race. Big procession down pit road now as everybody looks for his pit box. One car staying out is J.J. Yaley. Of course, Kite also stays out. Lazier's on the top, Hornish in the middle, as Hornish will be the first to run.
Now remember, this is a crew that does not used to making these sort of pit stops. They are going to be very deliberate with Sam Hornish.
What's fortunate for this team that they're able to do it under the yellow.
Well, a big difference there, 11.4 and 16.2, with Lazier having a much better pit stop, and as a result, Sam's going to lose a lot of track position.
All of a sudden, down on pit road, it looks as if Robbie McGee has decided to go to the infield. It's hard to really put together exactly what happened, but he turned a very hard right on the inside of the Legends track here at Kentucky Speedway and has come to a stop in front of you fellas.
And Jacques Lazier stalled in his pit stall, so all kinds of problems here on the pit stops as the Robbie McGee crew goes to retrieve him. He is indeed here in the short Legends track on the infield of the larger track.
Well, you can see the grass looks a little long, and it might be a little wet or damp down there, and it's but obviously Robbie had to kill the motor because you didn't see him trying to spin the tires to get out of that situation, so the motor must have gone dead.
Down to Vince, Buddy Lazier, and a good pit stop, Vince.
And it was a very simple stop, just fuel and tires. One of the advantages for Buddy Lazier also is that he pits in the farmost pit box. There is no other team in front of him. So once Lazier gets into his pit box, it's very easy for him to get out. He doesn't have to maneuver around other teams and other pit crewmen. So for Buddy Lazier, that's one of the advantages of being the points leader, and he took advantage of it on that stop.
Well, you can see they still have the fuel hose. The fuel hose out, so I'm not sure if they feel like they've got that car full of fuel yet, Bob.
We'll see if he comes in for another stop. The report on Robbie McGee was he simply lost it when he accelerated exiting the pits. Now, this was moments ago. We'll take a look at Buddy Lazier. We will take a look and see if indeed he got a full load of fuel, if he got any fuel.
Bob, they did not get the fuel in. They had a problem with the fuel, and even though it was a quick stop as far as the tires were concerned, you keep an eye on it here and see, you can see Buddy making hand gestures, and he says, just get me out anyway. That was indeed the problem, as I just spoke with one of the engineers in the telemetry, so they're going to bring Buddy back in and try to fuel it again.
Yeah,
well, again, you saw, on the first stop, you saw fuel come out when he pulled the receiver back, so indicating that the thing looked like it was full. There was no fuel that time, but on the first stop, you saw fuel come out when he took the hose off, and that usually indicates that the tank's probably full.
And that, folks, is how championships are won and lost, because because now Buddy Lazier has a deficit to make up here. The lead is going to go to Jeff Ward, who is the other A.J. Foyt driver. Salazar, Foyt's driver, was out, of course, in that accident early on.
Well, you can see both the top couple cars had trouble in the pits. Fortunately for Buddy, it was under the yellow. Sam Hornish had a little bit of a long stop, but again, it was under the yellow.
Buddy,
so
I don't know where I blended out.
It won't completely kill
I just
the
blended in. I think I'm in the right spot, but they might need to place me.
Down to Jackaroo.
We're with Al Spire, who is the director of racing for Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. And Al, most of us that have been following the news know that there's been a problem with some of the Firestone consumer tires and a 6.5 million tire recall. What's the latest there?
Well, Jack, it's a major issue for our entire company. We're really concerned for anybody who's been negatively affected in any way. But safety is always our utmost concern. That's why we did a voluntary safety recall. We're working very hard now to get all the tires changed over. Any consumers that have a question, we've got a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week hotline. Numbers 1-800-465-1904. They've got any questions, they can call that number.
What about racing? Is there anything that you've learned from racing that can apply to all of this?
Well, you know, racing's all about speed. You know, drivers want to go fast, pit crews want to go fast. Nothing much quicker than an airplane, Jack, and we're airlifting tires in from Japan to get replacements in as quickly as possible. Our stores and dealers are working overtime, and I have faith in everybody who's working for a quick resolution.
We're back to green.
Indeed we are, and now the challenge for Jimmy Kite is to stay on the lead lap. He is actually ahead of the leader. We see Sam Hornish threading his way through traffic already.
That white car with the orange trim, that's Hornish. He was 3 wide going through the corner, so he's getting pretty racy now that he knows his car is good.
And again, Jimmy Kite is on the tail end of the lead lap. The leader of the race is Jeff Ward, then Goodyear. Then Mark Dismore has moved up to 3rd position, and Dismore started back in 24th spot, an unusually poor qualifying effort for him. His car failed technical inspection during the qualifying inspection. The rear wing was not the way the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series officials wanted, so he started way back in 24th, is already up to 3rd.
Pressure.
Yes, he is. That is Hornish, and he is challenging Dismore.
Well, that's Dismore's spotter that we were listening to.
He's still there.
This run by Hornish is just unbelievable, Tom.
Well, it's really good to see. These guys have worked real hard. They're actually working with the United States Air Force on some promotions and trying to help them recruit people into the Air Force with the use of the car and Sam and that combination. So it's a sponsorship deal they're working on for the future, and this can't hurt their effort right here.
As a matter of fact, recently one of the team's cars was on display at the U.S. Air Force Museum for everybody to take a look at. That ended on August the 7th, but boy, the car that they have chosen to bring here today is on a rail. Sam Hornish running in 3rd position, about a second and a half ahead, or rather behind the leader of the race, who is Jeff Ward. Scott Goodyear is currently running in 2nd position. We have completed 62 of 200 laps in the Kentucky Indy 300. More in just a moment. Hornish from Defiance, Ohio, is on a mission. He is about to take the lead from Jeff Ward, and Sam Hornish goes back into the lead at the end of the backstretch. Wow.
I'll tell you what, Bob, they've got some help from Amera Suites hotel chain, and he keeps this up. I'm sure he's going to get a king-size bed with fluffy pillows
and
tonight.
some champagne and anything he wants. He is in fine, fine shape. Here are the first 4 cars. Actually, Ward there in 2nd. Then Scott Goodyear on board with Mark Dismore as he tries to get to the inside of Scott down the backstretch. Dismore bidding for 3rd position, and he will take 3rd.
Well, before those first pit stops, the team was radioing to Mark Dismore that he was running the fastest laps on the track, and just to be patient because he was going to be able to start picking off those cars ahead of him. And now Dismore is indeed doing that. Another driver, Scott Goodyear, has fallen back a couple of spots. We'll see if his tires are maybe having a, we talked about that a little bit earlier, whether those were overpressured, and we'll check on that and get back.
Well, we did have that report that Goodyear was running a little higher air pressure than some of the other teams, and the reason you do that, Bob, is the car has less drag. It'll be faster for a short amount of time, but again, that high pressure, it could compound, it could get more heat as you run flat, and If it gets too high, obviously it affects the handling, and the car starts slowing down some.
Your scoring rundown that you see there in the upper left of your screen will indicate to you that Buddy Lazier, who was so strong a few laps ago before the pit stop and who led 15 laps of this race, has been slow to move up from his 14th position. That's where he is right now. Jacques Lazier, his brother, were on board with Buddy. We'll talk about his brother Jacques, who stalled on pit road, and he is all the way up to 8th position. He fell from 3rd back to 16th, and now he is back up to 8th.
Well, a little bit of Buddy's situation might be this point championship chase. He's got to be a little more conservative, and you can't take as many chances as maybe he would early in the season.
Well, Jeff Ward would like to get the lead back from Sam Hornish. Nothing doing right now. Ward, meanwhile, has his hands full with Mark Dismore, who's trying to take over second. Vince?
Well, just checked on the Scott Goodyear and the tire pressure situation with Chief Mechanic Kevin Blanche, and Blanche said, no, we're running the regulation pressure on the tires. Scott just slipped back a spot, no problem. No sense in worrying with 128 laps to go.
There's a lot of coaching going on in Sam Hornish's pit right now via the radio. This youngster is getting coached every inch of the way around this Kentucky Speedway. Paul Diatlovich keeps radioing to him. You're doing fine. You're doing okay. You're doing great. I think Paul's got to come up with some more adjectives.
But one of the secrets is to keep the driver calm, Tom, and obviously Sam Hornish is a calm and cool, collected character.
Well, and a lot of times the drivers are more calm than the guys on the other end of that radio. I can remember more than one occasion where my radio didn't work that well to the garage area, to the pit area, because you'd unplug it because you didn't want to hear that much information.
Well, the first 5 are within 2 seconds of each other, and the first 4 are within 1.07 seconds. Running in 5th position, we haven't mentioned her too much, but Sarah Fisher is also doing a fine job. She's in that blue car right there behind Scott Goodyear.
Well, Sarah's showing a lot of patience for a 19-year-old. She's ran well. She's tested here. She's been at the top of the speed chart all day long, started in the 2nd row, and doing a nice job.
Well, she is, of course, from the central Ohio area, and she has brought a huge delegation here, sitting up in the stands down in the turn 1 area, that are just cheering every moment with her and riding with her for every moment. Pretty good battle here between Buell and Cheever. This is for 6th position, as a couple of former winners this year in the series are doing battle.
Well, that's Cheever behind there in the gray and black car, and slowly working his way to the front. Again, another guy in the point chase.
Tom Cheever just radioed in a few minutes ago and said they've got way too much push in that car. He's really struggling with it, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's been hanging around the 7th, 8th, 9th positions and not been able to charge his way to the front. They're still working on the balance and the handling of that race car.
Tom, we get the speeds of the top 9 cars. Most everybody is running 212, 213, some 214. Jacques Lazier here in this blue car has been running consistent laps at over 216 miles an hour.
Well, again, it shows you how competitive this field is. Jacques Lazier and Sam Hornish, 2 teams that don't have the budget that some of the bigger teams have, didn't do any testing. You know, Jacques had about 10 minutes of testing. Some of these guys have had 10 days of testing, and it's amazing to see them right at the front.
Well, this is how competitive it is. We're on board the Bryant OnStar car driven by Mark Dismore, closing in on Jeff Ward, but so far not being able to take that position away. Now Dismore has a good run, looks to the inside of Jeff Ward. Now he goes to the high side. Mark Dismore still cannot make the pass, but a really hot battle here for second.
Well, a lot of the drivers felt this would become a handling track and that would probably be a little bit difficult to pass. This is not like a Texas where you run it on the floor all the way around and there's this big 2-lane, 3-lane racetrack in the corners. Here there's really one fast lane, and you've got to really work hard to make a pass with somebody running about the same speed you are.
Down to Jack Arute, who's with Roberto Guerrero.
Not since last year's Indianapolis 500 had we seen this man, but it was too short for you, Roberto, today.
Yeah, it's a shame, Doc. You know, I feel bad for Corey Colson. It was his first race. We got to start. The plan was to see the checker. Unfortunately, we didn't do that. The car was working really well. It was really going as fast as possible, but maybe it will be the next one.
Will we see you in Texas?
What was that?
Will we see you in Texas?
Well, we're hoping, you know, it was going to depend on how we went in this race, and now we hope that Corey can get a little bit more money, and then we'll be there. Bob?
Well, it was good to see Roberto Guerrero back with us. We hope that there will be more races for him in the future. Sam Hornish leads Jeff Ward, Mark Dismore, Scott Goodyear, and Sarah Fisher with 81 laps completed at Kentucky. ESPN's presentation of the Kentucky Indy 300 is being brought to you by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile dealers. By Bridgestone, a grip on the future. By NorthernLight.com, just what you've been searching for. And by Delphi Automotive Systems, driving tomorrow's technology. Well, Sam Hornish continues to lead. He has now led 30 laps of this race, and that's more than anyone else. Scott Goodyear led 29. Jacques Lazier appears, however, to be still the man on the move. There he is in the blue car. He is running currently in the 4th position. He just passed a back marker, but Mark Dismore will be his next car and driver that he sets his sights on.
Well, again, when everybody's full of fuel on new tires or cold tires, he doesn't have that big advantage. But as the fuel load goes down, the tires get hot. Jacques goes faster and faster.
Well, tonight on ESPN2, it's the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets versus the Virginia Tech Hokies in the 4th annual Black Coaches Association Classic. The Hokies, led by quarterback and Heisman Trophy candidate Michael Vick, finished 11-1 after their loss to Florida State at the Sugar Bowl in January. Kickoff time, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
And I'll tell you what, there's some horsepower in that Virginia Tech quarterback's arm. I know that. That guy can throw it.
All right, Jacques Lazier moves to the inside of Mark Dismore at the end of the backstretch. Jacques Lazier takes 3rd. Now, Buddy Lazier has moved up to 9th right now.
Well, Jacques is on a mission. I mean, this is really impressive. I mean, he made that look pretty easy. And Dismore probably, once he saw him there, just let him go. But Jacques Lazier is going forward.
Buddy Lazier is about 6.5 seconds behind the leader of the race, Sam Hornish, in the 9th position. Make that 8th position right now, as he just took over the 8th position from Eddie Cheever. Here come the top 4. They're running very close together on the racetrack.
Well, you heard on the radio communication, 7 on fuel. These guys have 7 or 8 different settings that they can put the fuel and the timing of the motor. And again, some of it's to conserve fuel, some's to make horsepower, and depending on where they're at in the run, the crew through telemetry can tell them what to do with that fuel mixture.
Well, now we see Jacques Lazier taking 3rd position away from, or make that 2nd position away from Ward, and now Jacques Lazier moves to the outside of the racetrack and tries to take over the lead. Whoa, some tight racing there in the 2nd corner. Down the backstretch, they are wheel to wheel, side by side. All the way through corner number 3 they come. Nice wide racetrack, but it's pretty slick up there at the top. And it looks like Hornish, for the moment, holds him off.
Well, it's slick at the top, but it's rough right at the bottom. So both these guys have their hands full right now, and neither one are going to give up very easily.
The best finish ever for this Mid-America Motorsports team was when Doug Gadaro was driving for them. That was a 14th back at the first race at Walt Disney World. Now, again, oh, man. Woo.
Well, again, you know, this Mid-America team, they've got some horsepower there. They ran at Indianapolis until they had an accident or two. They were very fast down the straightaway, but this is really not a horsepower track. This is a handling track.
Wow, just some great racing going on here. Again, this is the battle for the lead. Sam Hornish and Jacques Lazier have been wheel to wheel now for the last 3 or 4 laps.
Well, this is amazing. We got a couple small teams, and these guys are battling tough wheel to wheel. Again, it tells you how close the competition is here, and they've all got the same equipment, so sometimes you don't need the biggest budget to run up front.
Lazier with just a slight advantage, but Hornish comes back on the inside. You just wonder how long this can continue this way.
Well, this is great stuff here, but running two abreast, it's allowing Ward and Dismore to sort of catch up to this pack because they're blowing a big hole in the air trying to run side by side.
Jeff Ward is right there in that white, blue, and yellow car, and Mark Dismore lurks there in fourth position. Now, again, we see Lazier inch ahead just slightly, gets about a half a car length on Sam Hornish. They come off the corner once again, cross the stripe, and too close to call as to who led that lap. Maybe Sam Hornish by an inch or so.
Well, this is good stuff, but the focus is so intense. You don't realize, it looks like these guys are just driving around side by side, but again, they're at 212, 214 miles an hour, and neither one of them can afford to make a mistake right here.
And this is the first time that Jacques Lazier has led since Atlanta last year when he led for 24 laps.
Well, when they run side by side, they're having a good time. They probably have some smiles on their faces, but I know Ward and Dismore lurking right there behind them are also smiling because they're able to close the gap.
On board with Mark Dismore. We track the championship battle right now. Scott Goodyear has moved into second position in the point standings over Eddie Cheever. That's the way it is right now, but we've still got almost half a race to run. And again, we see this side-by-side battle. The next time around, they will receive the cross flags indicating halfway. And now Lazier is going to pull ahead of Sam Hornish. And at the halfway mark, Jacques Lazier will lead the race. Here comes Jeff Ward up to take second spot, and he will. And Hornish appears to be off the pace a little.
Well, he really does. I'm not sure what happened, but all of a sudden he dropped it back quite a bit, Bob.
Well, he's all the way back to fourth spot right now. And we have a caution. No, we do not. We don't have a caution, but we do have a car that has stalled. And Hornish is very, very slow, and that's going to be a tough break.
And this is a tough break. They're losing power. Sam radioed in that the engine was losing power. It just shut off.
And now we do have a caution.
Well, that's a tough break, obviously, for this team.
Pit.
Well, we have passed the halfway point. 101 laps are complete. Sam Hornish, I hope this isn't a terminal problem. I hope it's something that he can correct because he put on just a terrific show for these fans here while it lasted.
Well, I think this one's terminal, but they did a lot for their status in this league by that kind of showing today, Bob.
Well, that individual right there is waving the red and yellow flag indicating that the pits are closed. The pace car has to come up, and the field must catch up with the pace car and pack up before the pits can be opened. Now, Jimmy Kite, remember quite some time ago when we went back to green, was at the tail end of the lead lap. He managed to stay in the lead lap and will be in 14th position. Jack?
Don't rev the motor.
Probably the most disappointing moment right now is this man, Paul Diatlovich, who has worked so hard with Chuck Bucknam. And now, Paul, the report, the engine is let go or it's given up the ghost.
I don't think so. We just tried to stretch a pit stop there, and it seems like we have a fuel pickup problem again. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it back out there.
So you'll be able to get back out, so this caution is advantageous then. It won't hurt you quite so bad.
I'm sorry. They're talking on the radio.
They're talking on the radio. He's a very busy man. They don't have, like, PR staffs and people to talk to us on the TV.
We're trying.
They all have to just work.
Well, again, if it's a fuel problem, that might not be terminal then, Jack. Is that correct?
Yeah, unfortunately, we were told that it was an engine problem, but the engine is running. So obviously, it's a fuel pickup problem, and they get some fuel in here, and they could be back out, but that's still costly.
Indeed it is. We're watching Scott Goodyear make his pit stop as the Pennzoil Panther crew completes their work, and he charges back into competition. By the way, the caution is for Stevie Reeves, whose car stopped.
Well, Goodyear, you saw that quick stop that they made. One of the best pit crews in the business right there, getting that Panther car out there.
Here comes...
Fellas, now the problem for Sam Hornish is they cannot get the fuel nozzle in correctly.
Oh.
They finally have done it. It's taking on the 35 gallons of fuel. The engine is still running, and now they've topped the tank.
Well, he has done all he can do on the racetrack, but some setbacks here in the pit area.
Now he has stalled the car.
Yep.
When it goes wrong in multiples.
Guy Jacques Lazier is just now getting ready to come into his pit lane. He wanted to pit the last lap, but they didn't open the pits until just as he was coming in, so he wasn't able to take advantage of it the first time around. So now he's coming through. You see him there in the top portion of the screen. They will not make any changes to the car. He says it is running perfectly, no problems whatsoever. Get it in, fuel it up, put tires on it, and get back racing.
Well, again, I don't know.
Good job.
I'm not sure what happened on the pit stops because Goodyear, some of the guys stopped the last time around, and there was some confusion down there. Some of these guys didn't feel the pit was open because they pitted a lap later.
Yeah, Jeff Ward among those, along with Jacques Lazier, did not pit on the first lap, but have stopped here on lap number 2 of the caution. Mark Dismore leads under caution. Still under caution here at Kentucky Speedway. ESPN provides a look into high school football in America as they follow the North Penn Knights from Lansdale, Pennsylvania in their quest for a state championship title. The documentary tracks the players on a daily basis at home, school, during practice, and after-school jobs over a 3.5-month period. Two-part series airs Monday the 28th and Tuesday the 29th, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. We are a half a lap away. There's Donna Dismore. She is hoping that her husband can pull out a second victory of his career. He won his first at Texas and the closer of the season last year, and Mark Dismore is the leader as we go back to green. But look who's lurking in the background. That is Scott Goodyear.
Green.
Well, Scott got a good run right there. He anticipated that real well. This is on board Goodyear's car. When the green flag goes down, you can pass. You don't have to wait till the start-finish line because you saw Goodyear had actually gone by Dismore by the time they got to the start-finish line.
So Scott Goodyear takes his Pennzoil Panther back into the lead.
Well, look at Eddie Cheever come down low. Eddie, the third car back.
Cheever running in third position. Shigeaki Hattori is running fourth. Make that sixth position. Beechler and Kite have both passed him on the last lap. So Jimmy Kite is right back in the thick of things. There he is on the outside of Ayrton Dare, who is not on the lead lap.
That black and gold car, again, he drove away from the leaders. He almost lost the lap because of the yellow flag, and he had already made that pit stop, but he was faster than the leaders and caught the yellow and was able to get back around.
The official attendance announced today, 61,214. Those aren't our figures. Those are the figures released by the track. 61,214 race fans are here enjoying this exciting Indy Racing Northern Light Series event at the new Kentucky Speedway. Back at Kentucky Speedway, Bob Jenkins, Tom Steva, Jack Arute, and Vince Welch. Back with you with 113 of 200 laps completed. Jimmy Kite is up to third. Now here's a guy who almost got a lap down, stayed on the lead lap, and now finds himself in third position as we have a caution once again for debris on the racetrack.
Well, again, Jimmy got caught out with a yellow situation. He just made a pit stop, and then the track went yellow, and that's why he got behind.
Tiger Woods established himself as one of the greatest golfers ever with his historic win of the British Open. Now in a one-of-a-kind prime-time event, Woods goes head-to-head against another of PGA Tour's top rising stars, Sergio Garcia. Don't miss the Lincoln Financial Group battle at the Bighorn. Woods versus Garcia, Monday night, live at 8 Eastern on ABC. All right, while we have this opportunity, the caution out for debris on the racetrack. We'll take a break. Scott Goodyear leads after 114 laps. Getting set to go back to racing here at Kentucky Speedway. It's Scott Goodyear, Mark Dismore, Jimmy Kite, Eddie Cheever Jr., and Shigeaki Hattori running in the top 5. Now, Sam Hornish has been penalized for passing the pace car, and he has been put a lap down in 15th position. There are currently 14 cars on the lead lap. Jack?
Well, Scott Sharp, you managed to get back out there and get a couple of more laps, which will help you vis-a-vis points, but it's your teammate that's on top right now.
It's good to see Mark's doing so well. You know, the Kelly Racing team really worked hard this weekend on working together. Our setups are really, we learned a lot more working together, and they're pretty parallel, and it's great to see Mark doing well. If I can't win, certainly want him to.
How difficult is it to have to sit out the second half of a race, especially at a place like Kentucky Speedway?
Well, it's tough when you know how well the Delphi car would have run and how obviously with Mark doing well, we'd be right up there with him. So it's a shame, but that's racing sometimes.
Bob, one of the things that Mark Dismore's crew just told me a couple of moments ago is they're not concerned at all about Scott Goodyear. They feel that as Scott's tires heat up, they lose some adhesion, and they radioed to Mark and said, hey, let him go. We'll catch him 20 laps under the green.
You know, Tom, this is probably a good move on Sarah's part. She's the last car on the lead lap, had nothing to lose. She came in and topped off the fuel, and she can run a little bit longer than anybody else.
Well, it could be a factor later. You know, the timing on these yellows are very critical, and it might give them a break later. We'll just have to see how it plays out, Bob.
Green, green, green. Outside, outside.
And Mark Dismore's spotter is yelling outside because Jimmy Kite is going to take over second spot. Kite goes to second.
Jimmy got a great restart. Again, that anticipation on restarts is very key because sometimes on these restarts it's the best chance to make a pass.
There's Eddie Cheever Jr. on board with Buddy Lazier, who's running back in the 7th position. That's Donnie Beechler up ahead of him. And again, Beechler is having a good race. He's in 6th spot.
Well, Beechler, that team always does a great job. They missed out on a few of the practice sessions with little gremlins, so they didn't get as much time as they'd like to do testing and things like that. But, again, strong in the race.
Beechler is another one of those privateer entries, Tom, that come here with just Larry Cahill's money. And I think it's a good validation of the IRL rules package that they can compete with the heavily funded teams like Kelly Racing and Pennzoil Panther.
And Donnie served as the Grand Marshal for the Illinois State Fair Parade on August the 10th in his hometown of Springfield, Illinois. Right now, he is being passed by Sam Hornish, as you saw. But again, Hornish is trying to get back on the lead lap. Up front, it's Goodyear, but Jimmy Kite within just a few car lengths.
Good job, good job.
Well, it's fun to watch Sam. He's in the white car that we saw a minute ago. He's going back to the front. He's only one lap down with all the trouble.
And problems for Jacques Lazier.
Oh, that's too bad. That car was so fast.
It was, but you know, they did get $10,000 from Firestone for being first to 100. And so that $10,000 will help this team immensely. What they, of course, hoped would happen would be a victory here today. However, it's just not going to happen as Lazier has taken the car to the warm-up lane, and they're going to throw the caution. No caution yet. I thought they were going to. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a fire situation here for Jacques Lazier.
Well, we saw the flame coming out, but when he pulled it to a stop, then the fire was able to intensify and do some damage.
That's over right in the middle of the backstretch. It's well off the racing surface, and so they are not going to throw the caution at the moment anyway. Goodyear, Kite, Dismore, and Cheever are the top 4. Cheever is now being passed by Sam Hornish.
But I can't believe Sam on the outside, right by Eddie. Eddie's not short of braveness, and he gasses her pretty hard, so Sam's going back to the front and might be able to get his lap back, Bob.
And you know, with 2001 being so close, there's Shigeaki Hattori, by the way, in that Epson car, the blue and white one. He and Buddy Lazier are battling. It's certainly a good performance by Sam Hornish, because as teams think about who their driver is going to be for next year, they certainly will think of Sam Hornish and his performance here this afternoon.
Well, let's hope somebody thinks about this team as a place to go and settle as a sponsorship situation.
There is Buddy Lazier as he runs back in the 6th position at the moment.
Tom, just to follow up on your story with Sam Hornish Jr., Paul Diatlovich, who runs that team, told me this week that deal didn't come together until Wednesday night, and the gentleman from Defiance, Ohio, which is Sam Hornish's hometown, was literally going door to door in businesses around the town, scraping up money to get Sam Hornish a ride here and to be able to get this car available. Paul Diatlovich called Hornish on Wednesday night and said, hey, you want to run Kentucky? And Hornish said, well, let me think about it. Diatlovich said, what do you mean, let me think about it? He said, well, I've thought about it long enough. I'll be there. Jackaroo?
Well, Vince, another privateer that had its moment in the sun, David, there on the Mid-America Freight Line car, was awesome today. I know you lost the motor. You can't be all that upset, though.
I'll tell you what, the Western Star Petromali Mid-America Freight, this car is working really good today. I mean, Jacques was just on fire. Actually, that's what happened coming out of 4. But I'll tell you what, we really don't know what happened at this point. But we're gonna get it back together, and we're gonna go to Texas and try to win the darn thing. And I'll tell you what, next season with Jacques Lazier, you look for us at #1 quite a bit.
Are you telling us that Jacques Lazier is going to be your regular chauffeur?
Jacques is my #1 driver, and I will also bring on Scott Harrington in the second car.
How about that, guys? From a little privateer to a big time. The Mid-America Freightline car is going to the front.
Well, that's good to hear, and we know that several existing teams are going to run 2 cars next year. The Pennzoil Panther team is expected to run 2 cars in the 2001 Indy Racing Northern Light Series. Scott Goodyear leading Jimmy Kite by just a little over a second. Eddie Cheever is third. The Indy Racing Northern Light Series is at Kentucky Speedway for the inaugural running of this event. We're zeroed in now on Buddy Lazier and Eddie Cheever Jr. Now, here's how the point leaders, the top 5 in points, are running. So Lazier is the points leader, running 4th. Cheever is 3rd. The leader of the race is Scott Goodyear. And again, right now, in the point standing, Scott Goodyear is ahead of Eddie Cheever, but we still have a little more than 65 laps to go. And there is Buddy Lazier passing Sam Hornish, who has kind of slowed down here recently.
Well, what happens with the Lazier, they got a real good package there handling-wise. It runs real strong throughout the entire run. Even when the tires are hot, Buddy is able to go forward, and I think Sam's cooked the tires a little bit, trying to get that lap back.
Well, one of the problems with Buddy Lazier, about the only problem he's had today, was that little foul up in the pits where he came in a little far away from the wall and they couldn't get the fuel hose into the car properly. Of course, he had to come back around for a second fill-up. That's the only problem they've had. Team owner Ron Himmelgarn just told me the car is perfect. And by the way, Eddie Cheever, who's 2nd in points, his car has finally come to him and he's running and feeling a lot more comfortable with his ride as well.
Indeed, Eddie Cheever in the excited home Infinity Indy-powered car running in 4th position. It's Goodyear, Kite, Buddy Lazier, Cheever. Hattori is 5th. Beechler 6th. Stephen Gregoire, we haven't mentioned him today. He's running up in 7th position. Then Billy Boat is 8th. Jeff Ward 9th. And Greg Ray is running in the 10th position. Drivers running 2nd, 5th, 6th, and 7th have never won an Indy Racing Northern Light Series event.
Well, these teams now have had a couple pit stops to try to make adjustments on these cars to try to keep the car balanced throughout that run, and you can see them starting to bunch it up.
Separation between Goodyear and Kite is less than a half a second. Lazier about 4 seconds behind and basically running all by himself. Now here's a battle for the lead. Jimmy Kite goes to the lead here on the 139th lap of the race. He has not led a race since Charlotte 1997 when he led 11 laps.
And Bob, this is a big day for the Aramis Blueprint team. Jimmy Kite is running his first race in his IRL career without his engineer, Brad McCandless. McCandless lost his dad earlier this week and stayed in Indianapolis. Tim Wardrop is filling in for McCandless, and as we watch a car slowing down, which won't bring out the yellow, Jimmy Kite now said, I want to lead a race for Brad because I know he'll be watching at home.
And our condolences to Brad and family on the loss of his father. Well, that's Ayrton Dare, who has come into the, looks like some kind of a suspension problem.
Yeah, definitely.
The left front was off the ground.
Right, something in the right rear had broken, Bob, and that's why that left front looked real light, was off the ground as he came across into the pits.
And they're taking the engine cover off, and it could be terminal for one of the top rookie candidates in the Indy Racing Series. That, of course, is Ayrton Dare. Blueprint Racing, for whom Kite runs, is looking for their first win since March of 1997 when Jim Guthrie beat Tony Stewart at Phoenix in a colossal upset. 145 out of 200 laps completed here at the Kentucky Speedway. Now, Davey Hamilton's side pod, it appears, is about to fly off in that freeinternet.com car. He was, of course, involved in some flying debris in the lap 3 accident. And now he says the car is beginning to get loose. He is running back in 17th position, 4 laps down. We go down to Jackaroot is with Ayrton Dare.
Who is Davey Hamilton's teammate, the driver of the Uproar.com car for Team Extreme. Broken bell, Heising? broken bell housing, I understand.
Yeah, I broke bell housing. The place where the shock is connected to the gearbox is broke. Broke a piece of the gearbox. But we're right like 5 laps behind the leader, so we're gonna end up doing the same thing. So.
What about the track conditions there, Don? Are you happy with them? Is this a good racetrack?
No, the racetrack is amazing. It's really good. We're just gonna we couldn't take drag out of the car. My car was so slow in the straight line, and then I was involved in an accident on the beginning of the race, so everything wrong this race.
There's Andrade, the former Wave Runner rider from Brazil, as his teammate in the free INET car is pulled on the pit road. Davey Hamilton is getting work on that right side pod. They're trying to bang it back down, and now they're going to use the age-old cure-all for everything, 200-mile-an-hour duct tape.
And it's a 5th DNF, by the way, for Ayrton Darre. He has looked very, very good when he has been out there. Unfortunately, too many DNFs.
Well, the waves for that Wave Runner were a little too rough today, I guess.
There's Eddie Cheever, who's running back in 4th position. About 5 seconds behind the leader of the race, Jimmy Kite. And there is Sam Hornish again, but he is a lap down in 13th position. 12 cars remain on the lead lap. Stefan Gregoire is having a good run. He is shown in the 6th position right now. As he comes down and crosses the line, we'll be able to tell you exactly how far he is behind the leader. He is 12.2 seconds behind the leader, but a good run for the Dick Simon driver.
Well, it really is, because they struggled a little bit in the test sessions. You know, they weren't up to quite the speed they thought they needed, but they keep working on the car, making those adjustments, and it's going faster every lap.
And he and Dick Simon recently drove to victory in the over and back class at the 52nd running of the Catalina ski races, 100 speedboats towing individual water skiers, and Gregoire and Simon set a new race record for their class, averaging 55 miles an hour over a 63-mile event. There is Sarah Fisher. She is 4th currently in the rookie points, and Sarah is remaining on the lead lap. She's running in 10th position. There are the rookies and where they are running on the track. Well, Jimmy Kite, you remember, is off sequence as far as pit stops are concerned, so he's going to need one pretty soon. Remember,
Bob, he will pit next time by. They have called the Aramis car on the pit road for service.
Well, again, and they might have a pickup problem or whatever, but they're having to pit a little bit earlier than some of the other contenders out there, Bob, and we'll just see if this plays out, if he's going to miss the yellow again.
Guys, all the leaders are getting ready to come in here in the next 6 or 7 laps. Eddie Cheever's due in about 5 laps. Scott Goodyear's due in another 6 laps. And Buddy Lazier will be making his way down as well. And the pits can make or break your race. You mentioned Stefan Gregoire and how he's made a charge up toward the front. They picked off 2 spots the first pit stop and 6 spots the second time through. So you can gain position on the track by what you do in the pits, and we'll see that could determine the winner here today.
Jimmy Kite last pitted on lap number 102, and he is indeed coming in for the pit stop. Now, you got to slow that car down.
This is going to be difficult for Jimmy Kite because directly behind his pit is Davey Hamilton. He has to make the hard turn, hits the marks, the black gold. Number 27 is going to work. Jimmy Kite is the shortest IRL driver at just a little over 5'2". Kind of appropriate he leads in Kentucky because that's where jockeys reign supreme. Off and away, very good, efficient stop.
Indeed, everybody played it very cool, got him in and out in fine shape, and now here comes Jeff Ward in for a pit stop. He hits the marks at his pit stall, and the crew goes to work.
Well, I don't know if you saw Jimmy when he came in. He was hustling that car. It actually got a little bit loose as he pinched it off the pit apron to get into the pit lane, Bob.
60 miles an hour is the pit speed, so he has to be down to that by the time he hits a mark on pit road, or will be penalized by the series officials. Eddie Cheever Jr. comes in.
Not expected to make any changes with the car here, Bob. Just tires. Well, now they did give it some front wing, some tires and fuel. This is the last stop. It is a good one for Cheever. Buddy Lazier will be coming through next. His team now over the wall.
And Jimmy Kite has apparently blown up. Wow, there is the smoke that came out of that car down the backstretch. It really created a visibility problem. And so here comes Buddy Lazier now in for his undoubtedly final pit stop.
Well, we saw Lazier pass Goodyear just right before the pit stops came.
No problems with the stop so far this time. Remember, the first time they came through, Lazier didn't get close enough to the wall, and they had trouble getting fuel into the car. Very clean on this stop for Himmelgard's driver, Buddy Lazier.
Well, again, you can hear the RPM. You wasn't going to take any chance of stalling that thing right there, Bob.
And there is Jimmy Kite, who just says, I cannot believe it. And Jimmy has nothing to hang his head for because he was unbelievable. The car and himself as the driver were just incredible in today's running of this race. Unfortunately, it's all over.
You're clear inside. You're clear inside.
Doesn't really help, though, does it, to say that, Tom?
No, it's
That picture there says it all for Jimmy Kite. Now, Scott Goodyear did pick up the lead, but he now is coming in for his stop on the 161st lap of the race. And I believe that's going to give the lead to Sarah Fisher if she stays out.
Quick stop, babe.
And she does. It'll be the lead going to Sarah Fisher. And now Scott Goodyear sees his pit box.
This team prides itself on being the fastest up and down pit lane. Let's see if they can get Goodyear in and out. A very slight wing adjustment in the front. They're still on the fuel hose, and out he goes.
12.4 second pit stop for Scott Goodyear, and he goes back into competition. Sarah Fisher is leading her first Indy Racing Northern Lights Series event. She becomes our 9th leader of the day. We have had 14 lead changes. Remember, she is also off sequence as far as pit stops are concerned. She last pitted on lap number 117. Jackaroot, I don't want you to do this interview.
Neither do I. It's got to be one of the toughest I've ever had to do. Jimmy Kite has finally composed himself just a little bit. Bob Jenkins said it the best, Jimmy. You've got nothing to be ashamed of with the run for the Aramis team today.
You know, we came into this and we told Brad we were going to give him a good run. You know, unfortunately he's not here, and we miss you, Brad. I hope you're home watching. You know, this is for you and Jack. You know, we got all Aramis people here. I mean, we're trying to get him a good run. Everybody worked good all weekend. I mean, they couldn't have gave me any better of a car. I mean, you know, I thought we were pretty much down. We went that lap down, and next thing you know, I'm 6th again, and just worked my way back up. I mean, it just showed, you know, Tim Woodruff was helping us this weekend, and man, everybody here at Blueprint, man, they just worked their butts off.
And Jimmy, what does a run like this do to the psyche of a driver like you?
It helps a lot with the year we've had. I mean, we keep, you know, we keep telling everybody we're fast, we're fast. I thought we should have did this a couple other races. We just never made it up there. Now we've proven to the people that see we can run up front. And, you know, maybe if we go to Texas, we'll make Aramis and everybody at Blueprint happy and go win us one of these things finally.
One thing I can guarantee you, Bob, I bet you he runs out and gets a calendar that only has the days between now and Texas on it. And he'll mark them off one by one.
I'll bet so. Well, Aramis has some sweet fragrances, but nothing that can compare to the sweet smell of victory that almost came Jimmy Kite's way today. Sarah Fisher leads here at Kentucky. The 19-year-old from Ohio relinquishes the lead to make her final pit stop.
Nice and steady.
Sarah Fisher says the most important thing for her today is the presence of Derek Walker along with her regular... Boy, she had a quick spot. We were going to say, the presence of Derek Walker, she says, has given her a decided advantage here today. Normally, Derek misses some of these races because he calls the shots on their kart effort.
Well, the stop was so quick, Jack, because they short pitted. They didn't have to pull in a full tank of fuel, and because they pitted real late compared to everybody else. An excellent stop.
And Derek Walker is famous for doing that, timing the pit stops just right. So he gets Sarah Fisher in and out in 9.8 seconds. Sarah started classes last week at Butler University in Indianapolis. But right now, all of her thoughts are on what she can do here this afternoon. Buddy Lazier, we're on board with him. He now picks up the lead, and he has a 1.8-second advantage on Scott Goodyear. Well, RPM tonight, weeknights at 7 o'clock, keep you up to date on everything that's happening in the world of motorsports. John Kernan has the report for you on ESPN2. at 7 o'clock weeknights. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Well, the pit stop by Sarah Fisher has apparently gotten her back out on the racetrack in 3rd position. And there is the relationship you see on our pit map. The 91 is the leader, Buddy Lazier. Here he comes crossing the line. The number 4 car of Scott Goodyear is now crossing the line, 2.31 seconds behind. Sarah Fisher brings her car off of corner number 4. She crosses the line, and she is 9.6 seconds behind Buddy Lazier.
Well, she might be in class during the week, but she's actually giving lessons on the weekend.
Well, I'm telling you, she is teaching some guys a thing or two here today.
Fastest car on the track. Let's go. It's your race to lose. Let's go.
You're listening to Derek Walker there that's trying to coach her around and trying to get her to close that gap, but she'll be hustling it right now.
We've got 25 laps to go in this event, with now 7 cars on the lead lap. Lazier, Goodyear, Fisher, Cheever, Gregoire, Ward, and Greg Ray is the last car on the lead lap. Jack?
They're talking about the man that regularly calls the shots is Rob Edwards. Now, Rob, your owner and Sarah's owner is up top coaching Sarah as a spotter, correct?
That's correct, yeah. He's got the best view in the house right now.
We heard him, and I'm sure you did too, saying, Sarah, this race is yours to lose. Who made the call on short pitting the way you did?
Well, we kind of got forced into it because we missed the pit being open. That dropped us to be in the last car on our lap. And once we'd done that, we were able to stretch the window, and then we only needed a short fill to get to the end.
How would you like to be a rookie, Tom Sneva, and have someone like Derek Walker say, listen, it's your race to lose?
Well, as a rookie, you're not usually in that position to have races to lose, but obviously the team's doing a great job, and Derek's brought her along well. She's had some teething problems. She's 19 years old, but she's matured in 1 season in this IRL bout.
Well, you just see that Buddy Lazier has lapped Greg Ray, who is in 7th position, so 6 cars now on the lead lap, but we've got less than 30 laps to go in the Kentucky Indy 300. ESPN's coverage of the Kentucky Indy 300 is being brought to you by Bridgestone, a grip on the future. By Mountain Dew, left lane, folks, left lane. By Pennzoil with Pure Base, protection so strong you can see the difference. And by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile dealers. 18 laps to go at Kentucky Speedway. Buddy Lazier has a 1.8-second advantage on Scott Goodyear. Sarah Fisher's 3rd, Cheever 4th. Gregoire is 5th. And if there are no cautions, you will see the remainder of this race commercial-free. Down to Jack Arute, who's with Jacques Lazier.
And we don't even have to ask him who he's pulling for in the race, but Jacques, how did it feel to be leading for so many laps and racing side by side for so long?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you know, I'm so proud, and at the same time, I feel so bad for the team. You know, Mid-America Motorsports, we put this together, you know, last week and came out here. We had a great car all day long. I just wanted to pace myself, and then all of a sudden, I found my line, and I was just running around the high side, and, you know, I was still being cautious, and just the car was just working perfect.
Now, when you were side by side like that, were you on the edge, or were you comfortable?
You know, I was actually really comfortable. I had to get the car in 6th gear. We were still just kind of managing fuel. And, you know, the car was just awesome today. I feel so bad for the team. You know, they worked so hard. And I'm just real proud of them, too. This is the best results that they've had.
Best results that he's had in a long time, too. A lot of people stood up and took notice of Jacques Lazier today.
He led twice in this event, total of 8 laps. Fine run for Jacques Lazier. Here is Scott Goodyear, who started from the pole, still trying to catch up to Buddy Lazier, but not making a great deal of progress.
Well, he's actually been quicker the last 10 laps. Every lap he's getting closer, so we're going to have a race, and Buddy's going to have his mirrors full of Scott Goodyear in a minute, Bob.
1.3 seconds last lap. We'll check it this time by. And it's still 1.3 seconds. Vince?
Ron Himmelgarn, the team owner for Buddy Lazier. Is Buddy pushing it to the limit? It seems as though Scott may be gaining on him just a bit.
We're just staying ahead of Scott. The car's working good. I think we can hold him off.
Got a few more laps to go, but the car is running good. I think we can bring home a winner.
Are you getting a little anxious with the championship here on the line, and your team is leading the points race and leading the race itself?
Well, absolutely. If it finishes just like that, we're going to be up 40 on Scott going into Texas. So we'll have a 40-point lead, so that's pretty good. So, you know, you take it one race at a lap and a lap at a time, and I think we can bring home the championship. Big thing is bring home the win today.
Goodyear and Cheever still in the mix as well. They've got to win a race here to finish it off. But if Buddy Lazier wins today, guys, it's going to be just about over.
Well, you see Buddy, he's caught traffic,
Yep.
Bob. This could be a factor. Goodyear's a little bit quicker when they're by themselves, so how they get through traffic is going to determine who wins this race.
Well, indeed, now the interval is down to less than a second, and Scott Goodyear is right there within a few car lengths of Buddy Lazier. Just in the last few laps, he has really turned up the wick. Last lap was a 217.1 for Goodyear. Lazier ran a 212.7.
Well, and that's traffic. Again, Buddy's running into that dirty air, and he's got to be a little cautious, but Scott, being behind in points, isn't going to be too cautious.
All right, now Lazier begins to move past. That's Robbie Buell, who is running in 13th position, some 3 laps down.
Okay, you heard that? Did you hear that? Somebody's jumping out of gear. I don't know if that's Buddy or not.
Well, we're guessing it's Lazier, but don't really know. There is the last lap speed, and Sarah Fisher was the fastest. And again, that's mainly because both Lazier and Goodyear caught behind some slower traffic.
Well, they've dropped down 4 or 5 miles an hour that lap, but if that did sound like Buddy's radio, it did sound like Buddy's voice, and he got pretty excited when that thing tried to jump out of gear.
Tom, it was Buddy Lazier communicating to his team that he was having a problem keeping it in gear, so keep an eye on the 91 car.
Well, there are coming up on 7 laps to go now in the race. Buddy Lazier, again, behind Jeff Ward and Stephen Gregoire. Gregoire is in 6th position, so...
Well, those two are running for a position, too. They're battling for a position on the racetrack, Bob.
5th and 6th, but they're taking up a lot of room up there and preventing Buddy Lazier from getting around. Now, Gregoire scoots ahead of Jeff Ward, and Gregoire takes over the 5th position, and Lazier closes in quickly on Ward, and he will be able to pass him, it appears, down into turn number 1 on the high side.
Well, that's a good spot to get by Ward. Goodyear got him in the corner, and that's going to hurt Goodyear a little bit.
5.5 laps to go now. Will it be Buddy Lazier or Scott Goodyear winning the inaugural race here at Kentucky Speedway for the Indy Racing Northern Light Series?
Well, and you see how Goodyear got caught behind Ward. He tried to go low, but that's where Ward was running. Buddy got him on the outside down the straightaway, and that's pretty much going to be the race right there.
That opened up the interval to over 1 second now. So Buddy Lazier looking for his 2nd victory of 2000. He finished 2nd in the opening race at Orlando, then won the next one at Phoenix. He finished 2nd at Indianapolis. He finished 2nd just in the most recent race at Atlanta, and maybe adding his name to the win list here at Kentucky Speedway.
Well, he got by Gregoire pretty easily also, so Scott's going to have some real trouble now trying to close that gap.
Guys, even though if Buddy Lazier wins this race today, he will not clinch the championship. The championship will not be clinched. But Ron Himmelgarn just told me a few moments ago they will definitely have the commanding lead going to that last race, and it will take off so much pressure heading to Texas for the finale.
Well, our statistics indicate that Lazier will have a 38-point advantage on Scott Goodyear, who will now go into 2nd position as we head for the finale in Texas. And what a race that's going to be. 3 now make that 2 laps to go for Buddy Lazier. 2 laps to go, 3 miles of racing.
Well, you got to give another little plug to Sarah, running 3rd with this kind of competition. What a tremendous effort for that team.
Cheever, the only other car on the lead lap, he's in 4th position behind Sarah Fisher. The white flag is being displayed now as Buddy Lazier comes off the corner, takes the white flag. 1 more lap to go. He has a 1.2 second advantage on Scott Goodyear as we head for the final lap of the race. And Buddy Lazier is looking to become the first repeat winner of 2000. He has led this afternoon 3 different times for 49 laps.
Good job, Buddy. Good job.
Buddy Lazier wins at Kentucky. Buddy Lazier records his 4th career victory. His final margin of victory was 1.8 seconds over Scott Goodyear's Sarah Fisher with her best finish in her career, 7 3/4 seconds behind, and Eddie Cheever is going to come home in the 4th position.
The absolute second, the car just broke the gearbox. I am dead stick. I am dead stick.
Whoa.
It just broke. As I lifted off for the start-finish line, the gearbox broke. I'm dead stick. You guys are going to have to push me.
Can you believe that?
Life's timing, Bob, and that is pretty good timing.
Very nice. Well, Buddy is making his way toward victory lane. We're going to have to get off the air here pretty quickly. Here are the point standings. 38, the difference between Lazier, who wins here, and Scott Goodyear. Cheever will go to Texas in 3rd. Mark Dismore and Eliseo Salazar, the top 5 in points as we head for Texas. And the final race of the Indy Racing Northern Light Series event will be on October the 15th. And that will be on ABC Sports Sunday afternoon, October the 15th at 3:30. We'll see who wins the championship. Buddy Lazier wins here today. Coming up next, racing to the Breeders' Cup. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.